Hey everybody, welcome back to the shop. Tim here. My apologies, this is part 2 of the turning a maple burl bow, and my apologies, I forgot when I put this back on the lathe to videotape it. So sorry about that. I'll just try to explain what I did, why I did it, and try not to forget next time. But I like on my bows, some people like to use a tenon. I prefer to use a mortise or recess or mortise. That way I can pretty much on the first go around go ahead and finish all of the bottom of the bow, and then after that I'm pretty much done with the bottom of it. Actually, I didn't do that on this one, but it's easy to me it's easier to mount back on the lathe with the mortise or recess than it is doing the tenon. But anyway, I chucked it back up on the lathe, and when I rough turned it, I left it at about 7/8 of an inch. I think it was 3/4 or 7/8 of an inch. And I'd considered leaving it that thick, but the more I looked at it, I didn't like it. And it had some voids in it that I filled with walnut dust and CA glue. And one reason I was hesitant about turning it thinner is because I didn't know what I would get into as far as the voids go by turning it, turning the walls thinner. I didn't take anything off the outside. I just trued the outside back up when I put it on the lathe, and it appears to have a crack in it, and I'm sure you saw this in the first video. Technically, it does, but it doesn't. The crack or check was in the outside of the bow. It didn't go all the way through. And after it got dry enough for me to put it back on the lathe and turn it again, when I turned the wall thinner, I turned, by taking more off of the inside, I turned out to that check. So the check isn't something, check or crack, depends on your definition. That's not something that happened from the bow drying after being turned. It was already there in the rough blank, and it shows on the inside now because I turned the walls thinner. I removed more material from the inside. One thing that I did different on this one, and I wish I hadn't forgot to videotape it, especially because of this, was watching a craft supplies video the other day about a finishing technique. I can't remember the guy's name that they said used it for about 30 years, I think. I gathered that he had retired or something from woodcraft. But rather than, normally I use only tung oil on my bows. But on this one, for the outside, since it does have some spalting, and spalted wood can be more porous in places, especially the end grain, I decided I would try the method that they were talking about. And what that method was is using Deft sanding sealer on it. You apply a coat of that, and then basically the Deft is a lacquer-based sanding sealer. And basically what that does is seal up those rough, more porous areas of the grain, and it makes it to where when you put your final coat of finish on, you get a much more even finish, consistency in the sheen. So but basically you put that on, and then after about an hour you leave it to dry for about an hour, and pretty much you sand all of that back off. I sanded up to 400 grit before I put the sealer on, and then I applied the sealer, and then after it dried for an hour, I went back over it. I think I started back at 320 to keep from clogging the sandpaper up so easily, and then went back up to 400. And then after that, I applied my normal 100% pure tongue oil finish to it. And sorry about the hacking and coughing this morning. I'm kind of chugged up from breathing all this dust in the shop, but hopefully you can see the consistency in the sheen and finish of the bowl. But as I said, using that sanding sealer allows you to get a much more consistent finish on the outside. Now, on my bowls, especially on anything that's going to be for food service, I don't like to use anything but 100% pure tongue oil. And I like that method that I was talking about, using the sealer for the outside, but on the inside of this, because it'll be for food service, it won't get anything but tongue oil. So there's no lacquer sealer on the inside of the bowl, and there won't be. I'm very particular about anything that I make that'll be used for food service, and I never use anything for foods. Never put anything that's going to be used for food service. I never put anything on it but 100% pure tongue oil. But anyway, I'm sorry for my scattered brainness this morning. I turned the walls from, like I said, about probably 7/8 of an inch down to, they're right at 3/16 to 1/4 of an inch thick now. And that's a pretty good thickness, I think. Another reason that I turned it thinner, when wood starts drying, the thicker it is, the more it resists movement when there's changes in the moisture content. The thinner the wall is, the less stress it is when the wood expands and contracts. There's less stress. It's able to bend easier, or move easier, in other words. So that greatly reduces the risk of the bowl cracking once you get it turned. So that's another reason for thinning the walls out on it. Well, what I'll do now, when this gets dry enough to completely finish, and this is my moisture meter that I really like. I had just a one from Harbor Freight that I used for 2 or 3 years, and it did all right. But I feel like this General, and I can't remember the model number on this, but I feel like it's a lot more accurate, and I just like it a lot better. It wasn't all that expensive either. It seemed like $20-something or $30-something, but it works real well. Hopefully this will show up in the video. But what I do is just every now and then check the moisture content, see if I can get closer. Okay, we're at 12.2% moisture content. So, and that is on the surface. I don't push the pins deep into the wood because, you know, who wants a bowl that's got holes in it? That's surface moisture, and of course it'll be have more moisture content the deeper in the wood you go. The wood dries from the outside surface in. Excuse me. So I wait until I get a reading of at least 10%, no higher than 10%. Wait until it's that dry before I start finishing the inside of a bowl or a cookser or anything. And again, I apologize for forgetting to videotape me turning the rest of this. I'll try to make up for that somehow. But when this gets dry enough, basically all that'll be left to do to it is sand it, and then put the tung oil on the inside, and then I'll do my pyrography, burn my name, date, and wood species on the bottom of it, and then this bowl will be finished. But thanks for watching, everybody, and I appreciate all of you, and again my apologies for forgetting to videotape when I put this back on the lathe. Have a great day, everybody, and I'll see you later.